Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles, and on this episode we're doing It Came From the Network. The topic of this It Came From the Network, WWE Money in the Bank 2011. And if you're not familiar with what that is right off the bat, this is the show most known for as the Summer of Punk starting in WWE. I wanted to go back and watch it and see how the rest of the card held up, not just that one super moment. With that being said, let's jump right into it. Our first match of the show is for the SmackDown Money in the Bank briefcase. And we have Daniel Bryan versus Cody Rhodes versus Heath Slater versus Justin Gabriel versus Kane versus Wade Barrett versus Sin Cara versus Sheamus. So there was 8 people in this Money in the Bank. This was good. I like when they start the shows off with these Money in the Banks. It gives us an interesting, one of the fun car crash matches right off the bat. Get you hyped up and get you excited for the rest of the show. I thought this was really good. Some of the names here, it's looking back this far, now we're a decade later, a little bit over a decade later, seeing guys that at the time they were thought to be the future, like Wade Barrett, Heath Slater, Justin Gabriel, who are either not wrestling or not with the company anymore. Daniel Bryan not with the company anymore. Kane is retired, but at this point, Kane had already been 15 years into his run as Kane, so I don't think he was looked at as a future guy. And we all know the trajectory that Cody Rhodes went on. This was a really fun opening match. I really enjoyed it. There were a couple moments I forgot, but then when it happened, I remembered. They did a Sin Cara injury angle. This is when the original Sin Cara got suspended. I thought for a moment it might be legit, but then I remembered, oh yeah, I remembered it from watching it originally. This is a good match. Ultimately, Daniel Bryan picks up the win here. I'm giving this one a 4. I thought it was a good opener for the show. Next up, we go, and we're definitely in the Divas era of WWE. For the Divas Championship, Kelly Kelly defending against Brie Bella. Kelly Kelly has Eve Torres in her corner. Brie has her sister Nikki. This was when they were in the full-on twin magic mode. This wasn't good, and I hate to talk bad about Kelly Kelly. I don't know that she was ever properly trained. She did get better the more she went on, but this was a bad match. Kelly Kelly retains. I'm giving this one a 1. Just to see how far we've come in 10 years in women's wrestling, that this is what we were given then as opposed to what we're being given now. We're light years ahead of where we were then. Going from that, we get a battle of the big men. Mark Henry versus the Big Show. This match was clunky. This match, I expected it to be better, and I remembered it being better than it was. And it could be because I'm a fan of both guys. I like Mark Henry. I enjoy the Big Show. I think they're good wrestlers. I think they're good storytellers. This match felt a little bit clunky. Mark Henry picks up the win, proceeds to injure Big Show after the match was an obviously faked injury. I don't remember if Big Show got suspended at this time or why they did the faking injury, but Henry did pick up the win. I'm giving this one a 2. Next, we get into one that's kind of funny watching, knowing what we know in 2022 while I'm recording this and what just went down. We have Vince McMahon and Johnny Ace in the back of being interviewed, and knowing what we know about Vince and Johnny Ace now, it's kind of funny seeing them as the authority guys and being interviewed on this. So that was a funny little segment, a funny little time capsule, especially with what's going on in the world now. I've done videos on it, on Vince McMahon and his issues. There have been a million videos and a million articles. I'm guessing if you're watching this, you know what Vince and Johnny Ace are going through, so I'm not going to recover it. Next up, we get for the Raw Money in the Bank ladder match. We get Alex Riley versus Evan Bourne, almost called him Adam Bourne, Alberto Del Rio, Jack Swagger, Kofi Kingston, The Miz, R-Truth, and Rey Mysterio. And again, we see some of the guys that they expected to be the future of WWE. Evan Bourne, Jack Swagger, Kofi, Alex Riley, some of them did. It happened. Kofi definitely. Swagger, you could argue, had a good run there. Alberto Del Rio, who, I'm going to say this, when Alberto Del Rio was in this run, I really enjoyed his work. Alberto Del Rio, the person, is a terrible human being. But anyway, I digress. So again, we see some of what they thought were going to be the future of WWE. Some, Evan Bourne, Jack Swagger, are not there no more. Both of them are in AEW. Alex Riley, I don't think, is in wrestling at all anymore. Del Rio. Miz is like a cockroach. He's still there. Truth is still there and probably looks younger now than he did then. Rey Mysterio, obviously, absolute legend. This to me was the better of the two matches. They did a couple things. They did a Miz injury, so we had 3 fake injury angles during the show, which kind of strange, but okay. There was a lot more crazy spots in this one. Evan Bourne does a shooting star off of one of the big ladders into everybody. And Kofi's Kofi. Kofi always goes crazy in these type matches. Ultimately, Del Rio does pick up the win here. I'm giving this match a 4. After the match, we get a lot of stalling. There was a lot of pacing issues with the card. They felt like there was a lot of places where they ran replays or they stalled for timing. And I don't know if maybe... I don't know what it was, something got cut. But then we get an interview with Alberto Del Rio, who at the time, if you remember, was talking about the World Championship being his destiny. However, he wanted a Money in the Bank briefcase, so they asked him if that's part of the destiny. He said, no, that's just part of the journey. The destiny is a championship. That leads us into a package, which leads us up to Christian versus Randy Orton for the World Championship. The stipulation being, this was during Christian's one more match period, where he kept losing to Orton in strange ways, either, his foot was under the ropes or different reasoning. So for this, the match, if Orton gets disqualified, Christian wins the world title. So ultimately, I thought it was really well worked, how they worked that gimmick into the match, how Christian and Orton played off of it. Ultimately, Christian spits in Orton's mouth, which gets him disqualified when he doesn't listen to the ref as he's attacking Christian. Christian picks up the win by DQ, becoming the world champion, but then taking a beating afterwards, even taking an RKO through the table. I liked the story that was told here, and I thought it was really good. I mean, you got 2 world-class workers telling the story, so it's always going to be pretty good with these 2 guys. I'm giving this one a 4. Like I said, I enjoyed the story. I think anybody else admit they may not have been able to pull off such a good match with the convoluted storyline involved, but with being who it was, I think they made it work. Now we get to the match that everybody came here for, the WWE Championship. John Cena defending against CM Punk. And if CM Punk wins, he's leaving the company. If John Cena wins, Vince McMahon has threatened to fire him. So, with that being said, there are a couple things that stood out. First, and this was one of the biggest, best pops in the history of wrestling. One of the best, in my opinion, stories and one of the best matches in wrestling history, in WWE history specifically. This was a really fun match, and it's not all on CM Punk. The fans, the crowds were totally into CM Punk here. He was 100% the guy that they were going for. A couple things stood out. First, on the Peacock version, they don't play Living Color. They play his Kill Switch Engage song, which I believe it's The Fire Burns is the name. I don't remember the name, but it's by Kill Switch. Fantastic song, either way. But I think it's funny with how much Cult of Personality was tied to that moment and how much it's now tied to CM Punk that they did not use that on the video. They probably didn't have the rights for it for this, so they had to dub back over his older entrance theme. I'd be interested to see. I haven't gone back and watched a lot of CM Punk post this match. I'd be interested to see if I go back, watch some Raws or SmackDowns that he was on, or pay-per-views even, and see if he comes out to Cult of Personality or they overdub it again. This was a fantastic match. It was given plenty of time. We get down to the end of it. Vince McMahon and Johnny Ace come out to the ring to try and screw over CM Punk while he's in the STF. Cena stops him from doing it, says he's not going to win that way, gets back into the ring, eats a GTS. CM Punk picks up the win. Vince McMahon goes crazy. He goes over to the announce team, grabs a headset, and says, get me Alberto out here now, get Alberto out here. Before Del Rio could cash in, CM Punk kicks him in the head, famously grabs his belt, runs out through the crowd, and we leave the show on the cliffhanger. What a fantastic match. Even if you took out the story around it, you took out the crowd, this would be a great match. CM Punk and John Cena, fantastic storytellers. Cena had a lot of detractors, and at this point, I was one of them because I was sick of the way he was portrayed. It wasn't John Cena. It was the booking of John Cena that I was sick of. And the fact that John Cena was a world beater and never had any weaknesses. By this time, it had grown stale. This was absolutely fantastic. I'm giving this a 5. I thought it was a great match. I absolutely enjoyed it. I thought these guys work extremely well together. And it's a shame we never got to see this as a WrestleMania main event, because I think they would have even brought it up even another level above that. Overall, I'm going to give this show a solid 4. The 2 World Championship matches, the 2 Money in the Bank matches were all really good. The Divas match left a lot to be desired. The Mark Henry and Big Show match, I hate to say it because, I like both guys, was subpar. So overall, I'm giving it a 4 off the strength of the 2 championship matches and the 2 Money in the Bank matches. Let me know what you think. Hit me up down here. And if you don't know, I don't know if I said in the beginning, I rate everything from 1 to 5. So 5 is the best, 1 is the worst. Let me know what you think about the show. Hit me up in the comments here. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. I believe at the time I'm recording this, we're only 22 away, so please, if you can help me get there, I would really appreciate that. And with that being said, if you made it to the end of the show, let's put ice cream bars in the comments for CM Punk, because we know that's what he wanted. My name is George Coles, and this has been another episode of It Came From the Network.